Welcome. I welcome you all with all my heart. It's good to see you all. I used to think that enlightenment came in two steps, and that some people had one step first and the other had the other. Some other people had the other step first. The two steps were realization of God within, and at the same time, realization of the life force as God and oneself as an incarnation of spirit. This is an overwhelming kind of enlightenment. Bless the mind away. And you realize you exist and only you exist. Everyone else is just part of that. The other awakening was where one realized that consciousness itself is not real. An Advaita awakening. The first one, you might say, is an energetic awakening or a tantric awakening. The second one is realizing that consciousness is a superimposition imposition onto your primary state of nothingness. And because I had this experience first 25 years ago, spent 15 years in that state, which I found so dreadfully boring. The second half arrived in 2010 for a complete experience, a complete enlightenment experience. Now I think it can happen all at once. Both can happen at the same time, with one being the flip side of the other. The realization of the energetic self of Shakti, of the life force, of bliss and light and grace is by far the more moving experience emotionally. The old world of the mundane is destroyed. It's burnt up and replaced by a constant appreciation of yourself as spirit, as consciousness, as I am. And out of the I am flows the world. Each of us has our own bubble of an external world. All that we ever know is our own consciousness. But that experience has given us permanent access to the divine light to bliss and peace, to energies, to God, and a lot of knowledge about what it's all about. God, Robert called realization of the identity of oneself within total world. What's the word? Forget it.
Totality.
What? Totality.
Totality. Yeah.
Okay, of the world was what he kept meaning by I am Brahman. I am the entire manifest existence of heaven and earth, body and others in the world. I'm not an ordinary human being stuck in a body in a mundane world of a 9-to-5 job, etc. I'm the totality of existence. The whole fucking world. And all the energies and all the dramas therein are mine. And Robert kept saying, I am Brahman, without ever explaining this. And I didn't know what he meant. Then the other experience is where you're all alone, not even self-aware. You're not even aware of any consciousness whatsoever. And then suddenly, you see it coming towards you, like a fog bank. And as soon as it passes by you, the front of it, you become aware of everything in an instant. And then you realize, I'm not that cloud, that fog bank, that consciousness. It just came to me like a fog bank coming to a beach house on Lake Erie or in the Mediterranean. And I've identified myself. I've lost my identification as this nothingness because that fog bank came to me, that fog bank of consciousness. And it covered me, and I became self-aware that I am God. I am that. I am Brahman. Thus I was born as Brahman. And 12 hours later, that state disappears, and I'm covered by a different non-fog bank that comes in from behind. This one has no self-awareness in it. This one has no beingness in it. This one's very dark, very restful, like the shade of the tree in a hot summer day. And you welcome its coming because it takes you away from all the rush and bubbling about of waking consciousness. Sleep. But then sometime during the night, a movie appears within that sleep consciousness, and we call it a dream. It's what the brain puts together to entertain us and to complete what has not been completed during the daytime in a symbolic and pictorial sort of way. You might call this sleep consciousness, but it's really just a modification of sleep, an activity imposed on the sleep consciousness, much as waking state is superimposed on the sleep consciousness. They're all there, but not all at once. Right now, even though you think you're awake, you can reach out with your mind senses and you can feel the sleep state above you and to the left or to the right. And you see it like a fog bank, a dark fog bank suspended above. And you know it's sleep consciousness just waiting to come in and occupy your attention. These three states are all that you are. These three states and knowing those three states are all that you are. This is I am Brahman. This is I am Brahman, which means God, world, body, self are all one. But where does the one come from? Where does that consciousness come from? According to Nisargadatta, it arises spontaneously from the elements of the world, the real world, that we can never know or see because we know the world of senses. So the dirt, soil, atoms exist out there. You might say the real world, which we can never know. We only know what we know. And that knowing sort of descends into non-beingness during sleep. And yet there's an awareness of non-beingness because when we wake up and we're questioned, we can sort of remember what it was like being asleep. I can do that right now. I can let sleep slip in enough to describe it as dark, most restful, as silent, peaceful, with my body being paralyzed, unable to move. and yet I don't care. I could also describe dreams when they come. I can't do it in sleep because the mind isn't there. At least I don't identify with the mind. And the words aren't there to describe it. I can only describe it from memory after I wake up. Some people may be able to talk about what they're seeing in their sleep, but I can't. But when we die, everything sinks into non-being, into the absolute, into the nothingness, where we arise as consciousness each day and get submerged back into nothingness at night, with the added bonus of a sleep state that takes us there. But in the end, we as conscious beings lose that consciousness into non-beingness. Non-beingness claims us as its own. What is the experience like? It is said by some to be the most blissful state possible because we finally consciously pass from consciousness into non-beingness. And non-beingness is the ultimately blissful state. Of course, other people say other things. How are we to know? I guess it's a matter of faith. Based on your own experience of sleep and meditation, you pick a scenario, you pick a story of how it is, and you stick to it. And then you forget all about it because it has nothing to do with your everyday life. But everyday life is completely different than it was before. The aspect of mundanity is gone. The world is no longer mundane, but it's kind of magical even in its mundanity. Just the appearance of the world is a miracle, is it not? That to this sentient body, consciousness comes. Sleep comes. Dreams come. And in the consciousness state, the waking state, events come. Birth, death, marriage, death are all events in consciousness. Now, from my advantage of being 29 years old, I've accumulated a lot of experience. Youth is a time, or could be a time, of exuberance. As first you discover that you're coming alive at age 3 or 4 as an independent being. And then you begin to thrive, hopefully, and grow and spring into life and gradually become a young adult. And then for 40 years or so, it's all hunky-dory. Your body has stabilized. But then around 65 or 70, it's no longer possible to ignore the fact that you're falling apart. You're no longer a pure man, the rock, because now you're more like a pebble. Your body is not so supple nor powerful. You don't walk like you used to. You don't run like you used to. You don't do anything like you used to. The process of eating becomes mechanical because you really don't care about what you're eating. You're just eating to live. Your mind is turned more inwards into that energetic state within. And what's outside really isn't that attractive anymore. You've got a better game going on inside, a better life going on inside. And people that are still stuck in the mundane world live desperate lives of playing catch up to the events that are taking place around them, because they consider them real and as the only world there is, the mundane world. But you've left the mundane world and you now live in the divine with God. Although God may not be constantly on your attention because of what's happening in the mundane world to your body mind. But you don't want to be disturbed from that unbroken commerce with God. You just want to feel that light, that bliss, that happiness of realizing your spirit and not a miserable individual stuck in the mundane world. Because your association with your body is not the primary association anymore. Your primary association is with your own life force and the universe it creates. Which is filled with a kaleidoscope of changing forms. And everything's always changing. And strange energies come out of nowhere and do strange things. But they're entertaining. Why do you need to go to see a fireworks show on 4th of July when you've got your own energy works inside with multiple lights, energies, sometimes pounding energies, sometimes blissful energies, sometimes light and airy energies, sometimes heavy and dark energies, All of these are connected to you, to that I am feeling. I am, I am. It keeps humming. I am, I am, I am. And out of it comes all of this energetic activity that you witness and is you, and it's not you at the same time. And you're just finding wonder in the show. Why go to see fireworks on the 4th of July when the show within touches you much more intimately because it's from inside you, not from what appears to be without? Feel the pattern of the life force flowing through you, carrying you along like a feather in the wind. You're free. You don't have a 9-to-5 job. That's for your body. But you are not that body. You are the totality of all those energy streams, all the life forces of heaven and earth, of I amness, bliss, white light, yellow light, and multiple colored lights when you get to work with energies. And you give up working with energies because you see it's just a play, another play. And the ultimate play is going on inside of you all the time. The unfolding of the life force within. But you know, someday the life force will grow weak and weaker and weaker. I saw that in my mother. I saw how she went away gradually. She communicated less. She just watched television. She didn't talk much except about the past. And when I saw her dying, her eyes were open and I was talking to her, but she was no longer there. And you know that's going to happen with you too. That's the burden of being human, is death. And the terror that holds for so many people because they identify with the body and your mind, the mind. And they can't conceive of that ending because for them it seems like it's the ending of the entire universe for them, which it is. But what ends for them is identification with the body. And then they go to sleep, take all their memories with them into nothingness, into non-beingness. For somebody that's found themselves as God in the Brahman state, I think it's different. You welcome it as the last enlightenment, final enlightenment, where you watch your own dissolution of the elements and consciousness and breaking apart of the states and just feel the fullness of bliss, the heart of bliss, the heart of peace. But I don't know. But that's what I seem to sense. That's what I envision now. And it's what Nisargadatta said he hoped it would be like, that it wouldn't be much of a bother to his body with a lot of pain and misery. He wanted a peaceful death and not to be bothered by too much activity or demands to be made on him. I love you all. I know it's green. I know you're caught in your own consciousness, your own bubble. And we share a kind of resonance between our consciousnesses so that we are able to communicate to an extent. But the totality of your universe, which includes me speaking to you, and the totality of my universe, which means I see you speaking to me. What disappears? What appears? After a while, it doesn't seem like there's anything to do or understand, that anything you say is a lie, and the world is a lot more complex than any description you give of it. I love you all. I love the entire manifest world, with the possible exception of Donald Trump. Take care. I love you. Now it's your turn to bitch and moan. Can we have a moaner?
I'll step up to moan.
What?
I'll step up to moan. Every time you started to say something that I got interested in, the damn audio cut out. So, and now the totality of universe is, and I cut it. And
Is that all you got?